In December, Denmark changed its coat of arms. The ram of the Faroe Islands and polar bear of Greenland were made bigger, a rebuttal to Trump's plan to buy Greenland. A week later, Trump raised the stakes, refusing to rule out a military invasion of the territory. Some Americans were shocked, Europeans were horrified, but this really shouldn't be a surprise anymore. This is how Trump behaves. Back in 1987, he allegedly wrote, "My style of deal-making is quite simple. I aim very high and I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to get what I'm after." International diplomacy done by a media personality businessman. But the American annexation of Greenland is more than a story about Donald Trump. The USA is a global superpower, nervously eyeing Russia and China. Greenland is a vast territory, mineral-rich, and with a population of less than 60,000. It's a strategic location for shipping lanes and military bases. US generals worry about the Guyuk Gap, the Atlantic Passage between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. You could compare the situation to America's purchase of Alaska from Russia, or more recently when the USA bought the Danish West Indies in 1917, but there is another historical parallel I think has been overlooked: the US invasion of the Philippines. In 1898, America and Spain went to war, a rising power against a declining European one. As part of the war effort, the US government supported the independence movement in the Spanish-controlled Philippines. They helped independence leader Emilio Aguinaldo return from exile. But it gradually became clear the US was more interested in territorial acquisition than Philippine freedom. Spain signed a treaty agreeing to hand over the territory to the USA. For the next 2 years, the poorly equipped nationalists fought a guerrilla war against the American army. By 1901, the war was over, and the USA in full control of the islands. Denmark is not at war with America. It's unlikely it ever will be on its own, but like in the Philippines, there is a large island or group of islands controlled by a European power with an indigenous population pushing for independence and a capital city geographically closer to the US than Europe. The military option is almost certainly Trump's attempt to aim high, but America is interfering in Denmark's internal affairs and the Greenland independence movement. On a recent visit to Greenland, Donald Trump Jr. handed out "Make Greenland Great Again" hats. Some campaigners see Trump as a route to full independence. Many want to use him to liberate us from Denmark, reflected Jørgen Boasen, a Greenlander with links to the US-funded NGO America Daybreak, a civil society organization that advocates closer US-Greenland ties. Greenland's problem is that despite being given more powers and freedom by the Danish government, the territory is still underdeveloped. So although many Greenlanders support independence, they also worry about the fact that 2/3 of their budget is still a grant from Denmark. Oil and minerals are underexploited, the economy is dependent on fishing and tourism, and this suits Denmark just fine. If it's serious about independence, Greenland needs massive economic investment, something Trump might offer, but at what cost? The US government does not have a long history of advocating for Greenland's independence. It's tended to approach the vast snowy island with a sense of manifest destiny. In 1867, Secretary of State William Seward made the first serious proposal to buy Greenland. It was a territory full of fish, wildlife, and minerals, he informed Congress. In 1910, the government discussed offering parts of the Philippines to Denmark in exchange for Greenland. These early proposals all fell through, but in 1940, America occupied Greenland by force after Denmark fell to Nazi Germany. A year later, the Danish government in exile gave its belated permission. By the end of World War II, America was again trying to buy the island, a key territory in combating the communist menace, or as Time magazine called it in 1947, the world's largest stationary aircraft carrier. Again, the Danes refused to sell, but the Americans refused to leave. In 1951, the Danish government signed the Greenland Defense Agreement, allowing US military bases on the island. 40 years later, as the Cold War ended and troops began to leave, the US strategy shifted. After 150 years of failing to make a deal with Denmark, the US government changed its approach. It began to think about Greenland's independence as a way in. Since the 2000s, many US ambassadors to Denmark have found a way to meet up with Greenland politicians. In 2011, WikiLeaks revealed US diplomats considered Greenland on a clear track to independence, offering America a unique opportunity. Ambassador Kane was introducing Greenlanders to New York financiers to help secure funding for oil and gas exploration. As the demand for independence grew, the US was carefully positioning itself as a friendly and wealthy neighbor. That is, until Trump got involved. What we are witnessing now is the art of the deal playing out in global geopolitics. The final key to the way I promote is bravado, wrote Trump's ghostwriter. I play to people's fantasies. People may not always think big themselves, but they can get very excited by those who do. That is why a little hyperbole never hurts. Trump would love to be the president who secures Greenland for the US, but is he pouncing a bit too soon? His tendency to aim high when brokering a deal has left many Europeans worried, although he has shown some restraint by not threatening to nuke Greenland. The benefit of this outrageous behavior is it makes other demands sound quite reasonable. In a recent interview with Al Arabiya, former US Ambassador John Bolton was able to portray himself as a calm and reassuring voice. Trump's remarks were simply not how diplomacy should be done. In passing, he mentioned he was in favor of full American sovereignty of Greenland. Something that would have been a news story in itself now sounds like a reasonable position thanks to Trump's hyperbole. The question for Trump is, what do the people of Greenland think? Has he portrayed himself as a leader they want or an ally they trust? Or has he startled the polar bear his predecessors have been quietly hunting? Hi, it's Arthur. Thanks for watching. If you like your news with a bit of historical context, why not subscribe to the channel?